Hey everyone, and welcome back. So we're diving into an explainer today that is it's truly wild. I mean, have you ever looked at a dog walking by and thought, wow, that pup literally looks like $1,000,000? Well, what if I told you that some dogs actually come incredibly close to that exact price tag? Seriously, we're going to count down the top 10 most expensive dog breeds in the entire world. We're going from ancient Himalayan guardians all the way to these sleek, almost museum-quality hunters. And you've absolutely got to stick around for number one, because that price tag, it is going to completely blow your mind. We are talking literally more than most people spend on an entire house.
So, I really have to ask you, have you ever actually seen a dog that looks like $1,000,000 in real life? Maybe just strutting down the street or, prancing around at a fancy dog show? Well, we are about to explore the absolute canine elite, where a hefty price tag is really just the beginning of the story. From super rare genetics to ancient royal bloodlines, we're going to unpack exactly what makes these particular pups so incredibly valuable.
Okay, let's dive right into this. With Tier 1, High Maintenance, Beauty and Power, this covers spots 10 through 8 on our countdown. Starting off at number 10, we've got the Afghan Hound. Look, if there was a literal supermodel of the dog world, this is undoubtedly it. With that long, silky hair and that super regal stance, they command prices between $2,000 and $2,500. But honestly, the grooming is where the real cost kicks in. If you aren't ready to spend hours, and I mean hours, brushing that coat, your wallet is definitely going to feel it at the professional groomers. Then, skipping down to number 8 for a second, we have the Dogo Argentino sitting at around a cool $5,000. This thing is a powerhouse. Originally bred for big game hunting, they are just pure muscle. Because they require incredibly careful, expert breeding to maintain their health and their temperament, that $5,000 price tag is absolutely standard. But hey, let's jump back just for a second to our number 9 dog, the Pharaoh Hound. These super sleek athletes usually cost anywhere from $2,500 to $6,000. And here's a fun little fact. Despite their Egyptian-sounding name, they actually originate from Malta. But what makes him truly unique is this fascinating biological quirk called the blush. When a Pharaoh Hound gets excited or really happy, its nose and ears actually turn a deep rose color. It's a remarkably endearing little trait for a dog that otherwise looks like canine royalty.
All right, as we climb the ranks, the prices get significantly steeper. Welcome to Tier 2, Rarity and Royal Bloodlines, where we'll look at number 7 through 5.
So the crucial point here is that rarity equals value. Coming in at number 7, we have the Canadian Eskimo dog. And that number right there, 300, is incredibly significant. See, at one point in time, there were literally fewer than 300 of these beautiful dogs left in the entire world. Because they are so incredibly hard to find and honestly so vital to Arctic history, you're looking at a starting price tag of roughly $8,700. When you bring one of these guys home, you aren't just buying a pet, you are actively preserving a piece of history.
Okay, coming in at number 6 is a breed you probably know, the Rottweiler. Now, you might be thinking, wait a minute, I see Rottweilers walking down my street all the time. And, well, you're completely right. But there is a massive, massive difference between your standard family pet and a pedigree Rottweiler from a world-class breeder. These dogs, unfortunately, are prone to some very expensive health issues. So getting a top-tier pup that's been bred specifically with a pristine, clean health line to avoid those huge medical bills down the road, that can easily cost you $9,000. In this case, you are paying purely for that flawless bloodline.
Breaking right into our top 5, we've got the majestic Akita. If you've ever seen the movie Hachiko, you already know the story of how fiercely loyal these Japanese dogs are. I mean, they act like giant, fluffy bodyguards for their families. But what really drives their price up is their cultural status. They are quite literally considered a national treasure in Japan. Because of this high esteem, importing a really high-quality Akita pup is going to command a solid 5-figure sum, usually costing upwards of $10,000.
All right, now we enter the incredibly exclusive 3rd tier of our countdown, the elite Sighthounds and Royals. This covers the highly coveted spots 4 through 2. And this brilliantly illustrates the massive price escalation as we move up the tiers. Just look at the jump from our earlier Afghan Hound right up past that $10,000 mark. At number 4, we have the incredibly rare Azawak. This is an elegant, highly exotic sighthound from West Africa, and it commands a smooth $10,000 or more simply because it is so scarce over here in North America and Europe. And from there, we step up even further to the $12,000 mark. That $12,000 price tag actually belongs to our number 3 dog, the Lowchen. The name literally translates to Little Lion Dog, which is pretty cute.
These pups have an incredibly rich background, having been a favorite companion of European nobility for centuries. But their price is also heavily tied to their modern history. Back in the 1970s, the Lowchen was actually recorded as the absolute rarest dog in the world. Today, their population has recovered slightly, but a healthy pup from a top breeder is still going to set you back about 12 grand.
Running right into our number 2 spot, we have the absolutely gorgeous Samoyed. You probably recognize these guys. They're those famous smiling, ultra-fluffy white dogs. They are incredibly social, exceptionally friendly, and fiercely intelligent. However, they are also famously difficult and very expensive to breed and maintain, which is exactly why a top-quality Samoyed can cost a staggering $14,000.
And let's just be totally honest with each other for a second here. Aside from that initial $14,000 investment, you really have to think about the hidden maintenance costs. As the old joke goes, imagine the vacuuming bill for all that white fur. Seriously, when you own a Samoyed, buying the dog is literally just your first expense. You're going to be buying heavy-duty lint rollers and industrial vacuums for the rest of its life.
Okay, let's move to and see how this builds. It's time for the grand finale. Number 1, prepare yourselves for a totally record-breaking canine.
Taking the absolute crown as the #1 most expensive dog breed in the world is the legendary Tibetan Mastiff. These majestic animals were originally used by monks to guard super isolated monasteries way up in the Himalayas. Because of that harsh, unforgiving environment, they evolved to have this massive, almost bear-like appearance. Now, just to get your foot in the door, a standard Tibetan Mastiff pup from a reputable breeder usually goes for around $10,000.
Now, what's really interesting about this is $10,000 is just the baseline. The Tibetan Mastiff holds the ultimate record. A few years ago, a single incredibly rare red Tibetan Mastiff sold to a businessman in China for nearly $2 million. Yeah, you heard that right, $2 million. That makes it, hands down, the most expensive dog ever sold in human history. I mean, it's absolutely crazy to think about how much we are willing to spend on our furry best friends, isn't it?
But you know what? Whether your dog costs $10,000 for a pristine pedigree, or, was just a free rescue from the local shelter, we know that at the end of the day, they're all completely priceless. The loyalty and the love a dog brings into a home, you can't really put those numbers on a spreadsheet. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final thought. If money were absolutely no object, which one of these dogs would you bring home? Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive today, and as always, keep that curiosity alive.